Hello, I'm Karma Kitaj. I'm your host for A Livelihood, New Adventures as We Age. And today I'm going to introduce you to Pat Williams, who made a change in her work life. She was a legal secretary for a long time, and now she's doing something completely different. So let's welcome Pat.
Thank you for having me, Carla.
So we talked the other day, and I know that, as I said, you said you were a legal secretary both in Boston and out in California for 30-some years,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that. What was that like for you?
Well, I began my career as a legal secretary. It was a fluke. I went to California when I was a young lady, and I worked there for a number of years, and I came back to Boston 13 years ago. And I think I came back mainly because I wanted to be closer to my family. I restarted my legal secretarial career here in Boston, and unfortunately, about a year ago, I got laid off. I was working for a large law firm in Boston, and it was.
You got laid off with a lot of other people.
With a lot of other people. And the legal field, I think, really has been hurt by the recession. And at that time, I decided I was doing my newsletter, The Word, at that time for 5 years, and I decided that's what I wanted to pursue, continue to do the Word and just kind of reinvent myself.
So you said you started doing it, and it's an electronic newsletter.
It's an e-newsletter, and it, I told you that when I started it, I sent it to 50 of my closest friends. It was 3 pages, and now I have 3,000 people on my mailing list, and I actually probably have about 10,000 readers. I was told that for each one person, it's 3 people who actually get it, and it's been amazing. I celebrate my 6th anniversary on Friday.
So we need to know what the Word is, though.
Yeah. Well, The Word is a bi-weekly newsletter that has a lot of different information in it about things that are going on in Boston and beyond. I like to say that I'm not limited to just Boston. In the summertime, I usually list jazz festivals that happen around the country. I have different sections of it. I have a health and fitness section that lists events that are going on in the community. In the African American community, unfortunately, we suffer from a disproportionate rate of diseases, high blood pressure, diabetes. So with the health and fitness section, it gives people information about health fairs that are going on, studies that may be going on. There are several free clinics that open up their doors to people, and right now a lot of people are having issues with health care, and so it gives kind of information about ways to preventative medicine, and there's a listing. It's called Happenings. It has low-cost events and free events, and I have a current events section. I also do event marketing, and I work with a number of major theater companies in Boston. So I list plays that are taking place in the city.
So you mentioned the African American community. Do you feel that that's your major audience then?
Yeah, I feel that the majority of my readers are African American, but my newsletter is for everyone. Given Boston's past, I wanted to try to step up and make a change and try to make people see that Boston is a place that we can all coexist.
So this was a big transition for you to make, though, from being a legal secretary, where I assume you had to sort of do as you were told, right?
Yes. It's not a creative environment. It wasn't at all. Never has been.
Being an entrepreneur, really.
Yes.
And creating something on your own.
Yeah.
So where do you think the idea came from to do this kind of an e-newsletter?
I think it just came out of I felt that there was a need for me to give something to the people in my community. There are so many other publications in Boston for certain areas, and I felt the need to just kind of give people information.
You get to meet a lot of interesting people in this journey, huh?
I do, and that's why I'm such a people person. I really, really like to go out, and we talked about this, go out and try to find out what's going on in Boston, get a feel of the city and what people are doing here.
So how do you actually do that? Go out and get a feel?
Well, I go to different events. I am going to a different event almost every day.
This is how you find out things to write about. I mean, do you actually do the reviews yourself, or do you have
I
other
do
people
some reviews. I do. I have several people working with me on the Word. I have a Devin Brown, who is former co-worker's niece. She does restaurant reviews, and she goes all over the city. Does them in Dorchester, Boston, and just kind of giving people information about the type of foods we have in Boston. And we have so many different cuisines in Boston. We have good food. So she does that, and I have a person Beverly Cohen, who's a life coach like you, and she does a column on how to reinvent yourself. I mean, she was instrumental with me to talk to me about reinventing myself.
Reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
So, of course, that would be interesting for me, since I'm also a life coach.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the impact on you when you did some life coaching with her? What was that like?
Well, it's not being. I think one of the things I got is not being afraid to venture into other areas. I mean, getting laid off was bad. It was a shock. You're used to getting that weekly paycheck, and all of a sudden it's taken away from you, and you have to.
You had been in this profession for decades,
for
right?
For decades, and
that's what you knew how to do.
Yeah, and I remember the day it happened. I think for me, I went home and felt sorry for myself for about an hour, and and then I just got up and dusted myself off and said, you know what, you got something else going on, so you need to pursue that.
So even going through that, really difficult crisis in your life, it sounds like you started to go full steam ahead, doing, really ramping up your publishing.
Yes.
Of the Word. Huh?
Yes. And I think that's what career I want to pursue. And I do want to expand on my event marketing. I think that's kind of what I want to put my focus on right now, because it's getting the word out, not only on theater events, but on concerts and other entertainment events. But I think in the African American community, sometimes there's a lack of information. And I think that is why I do the Word, because I want to get information out to people so everybody knows. I mean, not just certain people know, everybody knows. And that's what I feel my calling is right now.
So do you have any way of evaluating to what extent you've been able to do that with the Word?
Well, people, one of the amazing things about the Word is that I most of the events I go to, I take pictures, and I'll be taking someone's picture, and I'll give them my card, and the amazing thing that people sometimes say to me is, I get the Word.
It sounds like you're the kind of person who really can get the word out in various different ways.
Right.
So that these companies can get a lot more business.
Yes, and it's beneficial for everyone. I mean, it's beneficial for them
win-win.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful. We have to wrap up, Pat. So thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
I hope people go to the Word and look up your e-newsletter, because it's wonderful, very comprehensive.
Well, thank you very much for having me.